Alister, thanks for coming on today. And look, I've got just a couple of questions I think people might be facing. Like especially if there's a kind of a synergy or there's a kind of family and business, and they kind of get a little bit intertangled. How do we kind of discuss these things and make agreements and move through hurdles that may come up? So the first question I've got today is around debt, is around business, especially business debt. If we've accumulated several different pockets, it might be not be large amounts. How do we manage those? Is it better to consolidate those, or is it just better to just get on some payment arrangements and pay those off as soon as possible? How have you approached this? And again, I'll probably reiterate this to everyone watching. This is not financial advice. This is just experience and how Al and I've done things. So Al, over to you. What's your take on that?
Well, if I understand correctly, you're saying you have a business. You're asking for a friend, of course. You're referring to a business that has existing debts with different creditors. Is that right?
Yeah. So let's say we've got, we've got a credit card debt. We've got a loan, a lease, whatever, and there's multiple debts, small amounts. Is it better to consolidate those, do you think, or is it better to just kind of have some arrangements and pay those off?
Well, it's no better, right? There's choices. Suffice to say that if you've got a mixture of debt, different types of debt, there's likely to be a mixture of different interest rates. So if you can consolidate everything down to, a lower interest rate, well, that's beneficial for paying the debt, right?
Yeah.
If consolidation isn't an option and you really want to be paying down the highest interest rate first.
Right. Okay. Yep. And I think we've touched on this previously. We've had discussions about this several times. So yes. Okay.
I wondered if you'd remember. And it's not that simple necessarily. I mean, let's just say you've got a $50,000 credit card debt and a $2,000 debt that's got a lower interest rate. It might be better to clean up the $2,000 debt just to have that.
I think you were saying it might be, if you've got a smaller debt and a bigger debt, it might be just easier to pay one of the little ones off, so you've got less of a headache to think about that.
Well, it's not about the headache, right? I mean, at the end of the day, if one interest rate is 20% and one is 5%, it's going to be better to pay the 20% off as quickly as possible, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes it could pay to pay off the smaller debts first. So it's going to come down to some analysis as well.
Yeah.
But in really simple financial terms, well, you want to be paying off the most expensive debt first. And again, there's an assumption here that they're all handled in the same way, which is typically interest is accrued, daily and then added to whatever the debt is monthly. So there's a compounding effect.
Yeah.
For amounts that aren't paid. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting how quickly you can pay it off if you actually focus on a debt. That's what I found.
Yeah. And there's a fundamental strategy, right, which works well, and that is pay down, come up with the amount you can afford every month and pay that into whatever debts you're paying off each month, right?
Yeah.
But and then potentially, depending on your interest rates, potentially if you have any windfalls or increases in income, continue to put that straight to the debt rather than anything else, right? Because in really simplistic terms, if you have a debt where there's compounding interest, then you're paying more to that provider and for a longer period of time, versus if you're paying that off and then you're investing your money into a compounding asset, then it's the reverse. You're generating profits, accelerated profits over time. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And it's if you've got a bit of savings, if you feel you need to have that savings, that probably makes sense as well, right? So if you get that windfall, to put a little bit of cash away and then pay down the debts and so forth.
Well, as we said, every situation is different. But remember, for every dollar compounding against you, that's not only the extra interest you're paying to someone else, but you don't get the compounding effect in your favor. So
yeah,
there's an opportunity cost as well as the actual cost.
Yeah. Okay.
So savings can be a false economy if you have a lot of debt. So
that's
it's going to come down to looking at your each situation individually and seeing what's appropriate.
Yeah. Thanks, Al.